huge waves of dinosaurs, and then
some have boobies.
Some have boobies.
Some have or doobies. We
that's right.
That. We established that in part 1. Yeah, dinosaur boobies.
Dinosaur boobies.
Because I said moobies, but I was like, no, they're dinosaurs. So doobies. Yeah. Thank you, Toriyama.
Hello and welcome to the Games That Made Us podcast. I'm Brent. I'm not joined by anybody right now, but we're about to be, because I'm going to hand it back over to past Brent, Kirk, and Benny to resume and then finish, our discussion of Chrono Trigger. When we last left the discussion, Chrono and friends had just entered the time portal and were going to 65 million years BC. And we're encountering some very scary dinosaurs. So we're going to pick it back up there, and I will talk to you guys later. And then you're introduced to super sexy anime girl with a tail.
Hell yeah.
Which everything about this, every visual motif in this game, from top to bottom, start to finish, is all Akira Toriyama.
Oh my god!
All the way through, like if you've played Dragon Quest or watched any of the Dragon Ball property at any point, it's just all there. I love it. It's so charming.
I love the reptiles. So they're a sentient race of dinosaurs who you are going to fight actually multiple times, and then actually if you play the DS version, you get to help them, which is super neat. There is a sentient race of dinosaurs called the reptiles that are fighting and winning against human ancestors in this time frame. The leader of the humans is a character named Ayla.
Yeah, and it's basically a war for survival. It's an us or them kind of scenario. Yeah. Where it's the world is very primitive. And humans are at a more primitive technological level than the reptiles at this point.
Yes,
we're living in huts and wearing loincloths, and it's very caveman.
And getting just shit wrecked.
Yes,
which is great. I love this because even with the translation, like the Nintendo sanctioned translation, which I'm sure tones things down significantly from the original Japanese. This is the second time in the game that you've just gotten absolutely hammered. Mm-hmm. And that makes me very happy.
But also, like, going off the primitiveness, basically to put it in perspective that I think the audience who maybe hasn't played the game, just imagine, like, if you've ever watched Futurama, the planet of the Amazonian women, they talk exactly like that in Chrono Trigger,
and dress like that too.
And dress like it. They're not like as tall, but they're definitely pretty strong people as well.
They have good fundamentals on their basketball as well.
They can dunk, but have good fundamentals.
Yeah.
But no, I always love that, like, because you were talking about how they get hammered. Because I like it. Before that, I even made a joke about it, including the Amazonian women, where I'm like, Chrono, come eat, dance, snoo snoo,
snoo snoo,
snoo snoo.
And it's the one part of the game where a character has a voice actor, and it's B. Arthur. B. Arthur is the voice of Ayla.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
I'd be down.
If we have any younger listeners at any point, they're just gonna be like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
So there's a thing called the Golden Girls.
Yeah, don't discredit all of our fan.
Yeah,
they could be.
And if you're that one guy who's got the cool like MMA channel on YouTube who subscribed to us, welcome and join our Discord and tell me what you think about B. Arthur.
I want to know how long you think it would take you to get B. Arthur to tap in a rear naked.
Yeah.
or a Kimura.
Or maybe get you to tap.
Americana.
That's excellent.
Go
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So okay, so you fight the reptites.
I was still on B. Arthur in my head. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So we've met the prehistoric humans. We've gone to their village, and we've asked about the stone because we need help finding the stone. And Ayla seems to think she knows where it is.
Right.
And she offers to help us find it, and joins your party, and is hilariously brutal. Is
Yes.
the only character in the game that cannot equip a weapon because she is the fucking weapon.
Yes.
Her character sheet, or her character in the inventory, just lists fists for the entire game.
That's so
and she
good.
still hits as hard as anybody throughout the entire game.
Pretty much, I use her as much as possible going forward. She was a key member the entire time.
We find a red rock, and we fight again one of the greatest.
Oh my god!
Actually,
The fucking T-Rex.
There's a couple of fun things to do here. Like, you can actually spend a long time in this area. There's the hunting grounds where you can actually go and so there's a barter system that you can engage in. That's an entirely different form of mercantile from anything else in the game, where you can go hunt creatures in a hunting preserve, which is super conservationist of us. Basically hunting them to extinction. And there's a couple of creatures that drop specific items, and you can trade them to a merchant in the village for specific things. And this is one time in the game where grinding really does benefit you if you choose to do it, because there are a couple of weapons that are just exorbitantly expensive,
but super OP.
Oh yeah, so sorry,
Coinage obviously doesn't exist during this time, so you have to do this if you want these things.
And also, if you go back to the village of the monsters right outside of Melchior's hut, has a merchant, and he's a monster, and he hates humans, but he will still sell to you, jokingly, at these insane markups. But what you can do is you can take some of the gear that you can trade for in 65 million BC and sell enough of it to get enough money to get some, frankly, way overpowered weaponry, if you choose to do it at this time. Yeah, so the weapon, it's about the only time-wise effective way to do this. If you just go trade for like a bunch of these weapons in 65 million and then go back to the year 1000, you can sell them for enough money. It's like 60. So this is actually kind of a funny joke. Or it may not be a joke, but it kind of seems like it might be. Okay. The swords cost like 65,000 gold at the shop, which is coincidentally a few hundred. Okay. Yeah, you're seeing where I'm going with that. At the time, was at about the limit of the integer variable for a lot of programming languages at the time, which I believe is 65,535. And I think that's a binary limitation. So it's kind of funny. You can get 65,000 gold by trading for all these weapons. In my opinion, it's kind of fun, and it's the only worthwhile grind in the game. Actually, there's two, but anyway, I digress. You can go to the hunting preserves. You can go exploring through the area where you end up finding the red stone, and then fight one of the coolest bosses. Kirk, I think you had something to say. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I just wanted to make more I fucking love the way they talk. It always cracks me up. You know, right. You want go? You want go? Isla Dactyl make you go.
Right.
It always cracks me up.
What's Ayla's little boy toy?
Kino.
Oh my god.
Kino.
Oh my god. And you're like, Kino, sorry, Kino stole Chrono's thing. Kino lost Chrono's thing. And I'm just like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like, this is, and there was such a there was a moment in time that nobody since is gonna understand, where for whatever reason caveman shit was everywhere. Like, there are so many caveman related. Like, I have Dino City and, like, Chuck Rock and Joe and Mac. And, like, there's so many caveman related Super Nintendo games.
And just properties in general.
Around the same yeah. It's around the same time, Pauly Shore's Encino Man.
I was going to say Encino Man. The Geico caveman commercials, which was a little bit later, but, like, there was a lot.
It's still, I mean, we're talking, like, within 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
Dinosaurs,
why?
that TV show.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Oh, my God. I have this very, like, Pixar-esque core memory of, like, sitting in my fucking dorm room in college and watching Dinosaurs with one of my best friends on my fucking shitty HP desktop in my dorm room, and it was just like, yes, like, yeah. Anyway,
the monstrous baby.
So you fight a big ass dinosaur, and it is legit one of the best moments in the game. We talked earlier in the last episode about the imposing presence of him and the soundscape that they build there. But yeah, it's an insanely good boss fight.
You have to go to the Tyranno lair, right? Is that where we're going? So yeah, so there's a minor betrayal, and Kirk alluded to it, where I think Kino, out of jealousy, allows the Reptites to raid the village.
Yes.
And the gate key is stolen, so you can no longer go home. I think you've gotten the stone you need, but you can't return home.
Exactly. And so you wind up going through, like, basically like the Reptite layer.
Yeah, it's this huge castle on a plateau. And this is really where it becomes apparent that the Reptites are far more advanced. They have actual architecture. They're not living in huts. They're in this hewn stone castle.
Yeah, nice, like, actually stitched clothing, stuff like that. Yeah,
and at the very end, you encounter the leader Azala, and then his. I
think that's the Black Tyranno.
I believe
isn't it the Black Tyranno?
I think so.
And this is one of those cases where the boss takes up almost the entire screen, and she's just fucking magnificent. Like when she like shrieks, she does that, like, that Velociraptor dinosaur scream that became very popular, and just, like, the animation of her is fantastic, where it's just this full body roar, and it's across, it's so hard to imagine how this looked so cool back in the day, if you consider, like, maybe you did this on, like, a 27-inch CRT TV. We're sitting 3 feet away from the TV, and it's pixelated and blurry, and it looks amazing nevertheless. And she just takes up the whole screen, and that's one of those core memories, is just like how 100 times bigger than your characters. Like, there's no way you could triumph, that you could win.
But like, if you have Isla in the party, she's just like, I can take it. I think I can beat this.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Damn near single-handedly. Yeah, she's like, I got this, guys. It's cool. I think I can take it. Isla's strong.
and throughout,
Isla kick ass.
Isla's strong. Isla kick ass.
Throughout the whole time that you're in 65 million BC, there is a red star in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And the humans seem afraid of it, but the Reptites almost seem to worship it. They almost seem to kind of revere it. And right after you defeat Azala and the Black Tyranno, the star starts falling, and it starts approaching the castle, and you have to flee on you get to fly on fucking pterodactyls. It's great.
Right.
It's so great. This meteor falls from the sky. This red star falls, and crushes the Tyranno lair that you were just in. You escape in the nick of time, and you realize this was when Lavos arrived.
Right.
He fell...
And actually, sorry, I was just checking on this. We skipped a thing.
Did we?
We did. Because you actually wind up going to... You get the red stone, you beat like a small layer of reptites, then you go to Magus.
Oh no.
That's right.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
And then you come back. Well, no, you're fine. I was trying to remember. This is the second time that you've gone to 65 million BC. We'll talk real quick about the intervening space in the middle. But so yeah, you see this red star. It crashes into the earth. The reptites are super excited about it. And what you find out is that Lavos, the world-ending entity that is like feasting on the core of the earth, is actually an alien entity. Like it's come to Earth from somewhere else, right?
It's basically a parasite. It's like a planet parasite.
Yes. But so the part that we forgot, and I apologize, guys, because there are so many ins and outs to this plot, and obviously, like you guys are probably getting that if you haven't played it, we're gonna be 2 hours deep on plot, but in the interim between getting the red stone, going back and fighting the reptite king Azala, you go back to 600 AD to have Melchior fix the sword and the Masamune, and during that whole interlude you wind up facing off with Magus. Magus up to that point had been presented as the big bad. Right, Magus was the one who the monsters who the humans call fiends are worshiping. They're all the like villains of the game up to that point had been aligned with Magus. And you go to Magus's tower, Magus's castle, which is one of the coolest parts of the whole damn game.
God, it's so good.
You have this giant. It's one of the few cutscenes in the Super Nintendo game. You see this like scroll of the massive height of Magus's tower, and you wind up facing off with exactly 100 villains, exactly 100 bad guys, which I love.
It's very Castlevania-esque. Like the castle itself is kind of reminiscent of that. You've got the castle superimposed over the moon in the background, and there are bats and this moody music, and it's
very similar to like the look and feel of Castlevania 4, with that that opening credit crawl from Castlevania 4, if you've ever seen that, which is still one of my favorite things in video games generally. Castlevania 4 is a video game that we need to do on this show because that's one of my favorites. And so you wind up going through and fighting a number of really memorable characters. Magus has these 3 lieutenants, one of whom is trans, which I think is insanely progressive for the era, and it speaks very heavily of like the cultural difference between Japan and the United States in the 90s, because the character is just presented as trans, and that's super cool. Like nobody really blinks an eye at it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't a villain, but that's, is what it is.
Isn't there some strange dialogue though? I feel like if you have Ayla in your party, she's like, "Why is that dude dressed that way?" or something like that. Doesn't she make reference to that, or someone in the party make reference to it?
Someone always will. Yeah.
Okay, because I think she says something like, "What a pretty woman," and then it's like it's a dude.
I at that point I almost always have Robo equipped, and Robo will make a comment about like, this is clearly a human male and they are dressed as a human female, like something like that.
Yeah.
So
and then they promptly move past it.
Yeah, they kind of ruin it, and I love because that character I believe is Flea, right?
Yeah, and Flea will say, like, male, female, doesn't matter. I'm beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's like super empowering, actually, weirdly.
Yeah, you have to
you say yes, queen, and y'all high five.
Yeah, exactly.
I love his Magus's lieutenant's naming is so great. Flea, Slash, and Ozzy. It's just
absolutely. Slash, who is the master swordsman.
Yes,
because of course. But yeah, no, it's the 90s, 80s, 90s rock stars. It's so great. You wind up facing off with Magus, and it's a very difficult boss fight. But you wind up, like, Magus is kind of hinting at more than out and out saying that it's like, wait, hang on, this is not quite what you think is going on. Like, I was just about there. I was just about to make everything okay. Like, God damn it! Like, why are you guys here?
Yeah, you interrupt him in the middle of a ritual. So you come in, and he's in a circle of candles, and there's like a kind of a chanting in the background, and and he's at a creepy altar.
If you play any of the modern versions, the Steam or Android or DS versions, there's a really excellent cinematic that plays where you get to see this all happen, and it's really cool. But yeah, no. And Magus is trying to resurrect Lavos, or bring Lavos to the forefront right then, which is very important for the story as it goes along. You wind up fighting Magus, you beat him, hopefully, if you want to continue the story. Otherwise, spoiler alert, if you die, then the game doesn't keep going.
If you die in the game, you die for real.
That's why I'm actually a ghost. This is because I died like 6 times there.
And a quick thing on the Magus fight, though, I don't know if you guys disagree. I wouldn't say it was hard. It just takes forever. I feel like it's a lot of the same. Like, once you get into your rhythm, you're just doing that for like 20 minutes. I feel like, but it's not necessarily hard. It's just tedious. I could be 100% wrong.
I'm right there. It's a long ass fight, but like compared to like the Masamune fight or the end of the game fight, it wasn't that hard. Most of
and that's to the mechanic. Yeah, it's mostly tedious.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing that I will say. If you're somebody who is going into this game blind, if you're just like, hey, everybody says Chrono Trigger is a really good game, I should play it, I don't think a guide's a terrible idea, because there's a lot of fights, and not even boss fights, just fights in general in this game, where the game expects you to figure out what type of attack is going to work. And there's no... It doesn't tell you. It doesn't hint. It just assumes that you're going to figure it out eventually.
So there's like a text scroll for most of these specific mechanics that you have to navigate that they'll like at either the bottom or the top of the screen, depending on how you're...
Yeah.
Because you can toggle between your character details being at the top or the bottom. There's a scroll that goes, on either side that gives you some details. It won't tell you what to do, but it will give you hints at what's happening at the time.
Yeah.
With the fight with Magus, it will tell you that he's changed his magic type and that you have to adjust to that. It won't tell you what he's what he's gone to, but it will tell you that he has done so.
Yeah. Well, and my point is that there's a lot of stuff like there's particular group of bad guys in the game that like have this giant wooden hammer that if you attack them with a fire magic spell, their wooden hammer lights on fire and they drop it, and then they become vulnerable. But they, up until that point, you can
wail on them and
up damage.
Nothing. The O-guns, right?
Yes, exactly. And so like there's a lot of that kind of stuff where the game expects you to figure shit out, and if you're like me and you're not super good at immediately like in the heat of the moment figuring out what the game wants you to do, it's worth playing through this game with a guide. But so you fight Magus, and if you defeat him, the resultant explosion of energy shoots you back to 65 million BC, which is when you go through and then you do the fight with through the whole. That's when you see Lavos land and you that whole thing that we just described. At the end of that is when you then go to Zeal, and Zeal is my favorite part of the game. And honestly, like, if I'm being honest, so I played this game through to completion for the first time last year. I played it for like the embryonic form of this podcast, and I was enjoying it, but I was kind of driving myself through. I was like, you know what? I'm not a big JRPG fan. It's not, not really my genre, but I'm going to push through because I want to see the end of this because I like the story. And then I got to Zeal. And Zeal's where this game turned for me, and it became a game that I was like, oh, no, I get it. I totally understand why this is so many people's favorite game. And so, Benny, I don't know if you want to, like...
Yeah, you find yourself in this pseudo-futuristic, magical kind of confusing architecture, and your characters are in this weird building, and as soon as you leave it, you find that you're on a continent that's floating in the sky. And the music is mysterious, and yeah, it's meant to, I think, inspire intrigue. And it's beautiful. There's waterfalls cascading off of the continents, and the architecture, like I said, is like between medieval and futuristic in its own kind of way. And when you find your way to a town, you find that they are kind of subsidizing their entire civilization with magic instead of magic as technology is basically what this civilization has done. This is the year 12,000, I believe. So it's 12,000 BC. So this is like 13,000 years before the current day, and millions of years since Lavos has crashed into the earth. And everyone uses magic. Everything is based on, like, almost everyone's existence is some sort of a component of magic. Like, yeah. Their jobs are magic. And you, I'm trying to remember exactly what you do here.
So first off, the news are here, which the news are amazing. And yes. The news are one of my favorite things. You've run into them briefly up to this point, but they're these giant, basically spherical monster people that are hilarious and goofy, and I want one to snuggle with. And just I need a new to just like rub my hair and tell me everything's going to be okay. Basically, that's my full take on the news. So you go to
the palace,
right?
And then isn't like people are just like, that's weird. Why are you here? And then isn't this one like, is it Shala? Who's the name of the gal?
Yeah,
who gets like force seduced?
Yeah. So there's multiple characters that you're introduced to here that are very important. First off, Dalton, who is the sort of head of the military of the Empire of Zeal, who has a giant airship, which becomes important later. You're introduced to Shala, who is the crown princess, very like clever and kind, and like she's Zelda. Yeah. She's Zelda. Let's just.
But she's also special. She knows like different magic from different magic from everyone else.
Yes, and
or more advanced, or whatever you want to call it.
And then there's a creepy little boy who's like, "You're all gonna die."
Yeah, I like him.
And he's very pale and purpley and weird, uncomfortable to be around. He's basically like me when I was a child. I feel like if I would have played Chrono Trigger when I was like 8, I would have been like, oh, okay, so I'm in the game. So that's neat.
He carries around a cat everywhere he goes.
Yep, that's me too also, yeah.
Wait, so who's the dickhead?
That's Dalton.
Dalton.
Oh, Dalton? Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot his name. I was just like,
It's-
he basically tells Shala what to do, really.
Yeah.
Well, then we'll also meet Queen Zeal herself.
Yes.
Who is also a dick.
And there's the
Advisor. Like
Maybe
a new
maybe that's who I was thinking was
vizier.
the dick.
yeah, the advisor who totally doesn't look exactly like Magus. And who we're
Totally
supposed
can't
to
see
be
his, like,
very
shoes underneath.
very surprised when the reveal is that he's Magus, because he looks exactly
Yeah.
like fucking Magus. Magus even wears a hood when we first meet him.
Yeah.
It's just the Magus
Yeah.
sprite again.
Dalton wasn't the dick I was thinking about. It was the advisor
Okay.
who was a dick.
Yeah. So yeah. Totally not Magus. TM. Yeah. Got it.
But isn't the story basically like you're not supposed to be here? Like,
Right.
take us back, like how you got to our land. So then you go back to where you came in, which is a warp portal. And then it's like, we're going to send you assholes back through. And then Shala, you seal it up behind them.
Yeah.
I think, don't you go down to the Earthbound ones first?
Yeah, so you do wind up going to... Okay, so the structure of 12,000 BC is that, yeah, you've got the Kingdom of Zeal is on these islands that are floating above the surface, which is basically the Ice Age. And I love, by the way, that the people who live on the surface are called the Earthbound ones.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, nice reference there, Square. Like, good job. But yeah, so you wind up imprisoned by the queen, and then ultimately, like, she sends you off. You're unable to come back through that time portal.
They seal it off with
Yeah.
a magic.
It's important to note that the advisor tells Shala to seal it behind us when we
Yes,
leave.
yes. And that's when you get the Wings of Time. That's when you get the epic, which is you get a ship, a time ship that allows you to fly back and forth through time.
It's not fully functional at this point, though.
Truth.
So it is stationary at the time. It's capable of traveling through time, but not through space.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're finding Balthazar, right?
Yes. Okay. Who's one of the other? Yeah. Nah. One of the other.
So
dudes.
there is I don't remember how you hear of it, but you hear a rumor of a strange old man in the future in the year 2300, and that has been working on. You get thrown back to the end of time, and Gaspar, who was the guy there, and if you haven't put it together, we have Melchior, Gaspar, and Balthazar, the three wise men.
Yeah.
Tells you
I
that
forgot about that.
his friend tells you that his colleague, or he knows of someone in the future that might be able to help you, and so you go and meet him. Yeah, and we can move ahead. You get the epic, and you are able to travel back to 12,000 BC, and this time you are not on the continent in the sky, but you are on the
the Earth surface,
Ice Age,
basically. Yeah.
the Ice Age stricken surface world.
Yeah.
You have to climb Mount Woe.
Right.
Wait, have we given the sword or the red rocks to the sword guy yet?
Yeah.
We got Frog in our party already.
Yes. Yeah, so we've got Frog. Oh my god. Yeah, because Frog is. Oh my god, guys. I don't know that we were prepped to do a episode on a pod or on a game that has this much plot.
Well, we're going through like the whole story, so no, I think we're doing pretty good. It's just there's so much to this game.
Oh my god! So yes, so you have Frog in your party by this point. Jesus Christ, the editing on this is going to be insane.
But I think he used the ship to then get to his time or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. So we weren't too far off.
No.
I just we're just
No, we're good. So okay. All right.
God, that's right.
Jesus Christ.
Because this game is also all over the fucking place. And
it
somehow
does.
when you're playing it, though, it
makes perfect
that
sense.
Way. It just works. It's amazing.
It does. It makes perfect sense in the moment. Let's bullet point the rest of this shit, okay? So you wind up finding out that the little creepy boy and the prophet from Zeal are both Magus, the big bad from earlier in the game. Magus, turns out, is not actually the big bad of the game. Magus is upset because his mother, the Queen of Zeal, spent a massive amount of energy and her daughter Shala's life to awaken Lavos, the monster that had landed way back in time. Lavos then destroys the kingdom of Zeal, the islands that are flying above the icebound surface of 12,000 BC?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Awesome. I'm getting dates right. And you wind up finding out that Magus and his whole deal was that he has spent his entire life, his entire immortal life, trying to destroy Lavos. And the reason why he was trying to awaken Lavos when he was because Lavos slowly builds strength from eating the core of the planet that he's infesting, that he is the parasite of. So Magus winds up becoming, far from your main enemy, he winds up becoming a member of your party. He winds up becoming a supporting character in your fight against Lavos.
Magus is also Shala's younger brother, Janus.
Yes.
So Magus is the creepy little boy.
Right.
He was thrown when Magus destroys the kingdom of Zeal and kills Shala and everything goes wrong, partially because the party is interfering and trying to stop Queen Zeal from doing what she's doing. Janus is thrown through time to the 600 AD. You know, that he's thrown through time to then. I believe there's even like a little cutaway scene where it shows him like kind of in the forest, like kind of, you know, oh shit, where am I?
Yeah.
And so that's when you get the, you know, that it's come full circle, and you actually have a choice to make. You know, you're on that icebound surface, and it's clear that Magus was not trying to bring Lavos to do something wrong, or like to, you know, to bring him to bring the world to an end, but because he, I don't know, it feels like a revenge plot at that point. He wants vengeance, pretty much. He wants to end Lavos. And you have
knows he can better kill Lavos earlier.
Exactly.
Right.
So he's deliberately trying to go.
Yeah, before he's fully absorbed the planet's core.
Before he's perfect cell.
Mm-hmm.
You have the choice.
I can't lie to you about your chances. It's a perfect organism.
You can actually kill Magus. You can choose to fight him instead of...
Yeah, but why would you do that?
No, I know, but it...
Because he's a dick.
If you...
No.
For what it's worth, okay, so but playing the game, save your game or do a save state or however you're playing this game, save and fight him just to fight him once, and then go back and invite him to your party. He will I mean, he's a passive aggressive dick for the rest of the game, and it's fucking hilarious. But he's worth having in your party if you choose to, because he's badass. But fight him once just to do it, because he's also tough. He will give you a run for your money if you're not pretty strong.
I immediately, well, and it's kind of ironic because the party that I ran with from basically this point on was Chrono, Magus, and Frog. Which Frog, I don't know if we mentioned, but Frog fucking hates Magus because Frog's master was killed by Magus. And the reason why Frog is a frog is because he was turned into a frog by Magus. So those, like, the
was it by Magus or was it by Ozzy?
I believe, if I remember correctly, Ozzy asked Magus to turn him into a frog.
Ah, okay.
Magus is actually the one that turns Glenn, the human who is Frog, into the frog, and I believe Ozzy is the one that kills his mentor Cyrus.
Yeah.
And all of this is something that you can. This is all optional story content that you actually becomes open very soon after these events that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Where you can peel back the layers of the characters a little bit and find out more about their histories and get some backstory and also get some really badass equipment through the process.
And one thing I will say is, like, part of the reason why we're having a little trouble telling this story in sequential order is because once you get to the end of time, the game does open up significantly. And if you did not play this game with a guide, you can kind of approach this game in multiple orders. Now, only one order will advance the plot, but this is not Super Mario World. Like, you're not running to the right? Like, there are any number of ways that you personally might have approached the game before you got to the next part. So, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't Nom. There are rules.
Okay, so I looked up a walkthrough that has like bullet points for each of the. So the game is divided into like chapters, and you'll know when you've changed chapters when you save your game, and the title of the chapter changes. So. And just to give you an idea of the time periods that we're jumping between, I'm just going to read off the time periods real quick because it's pretty interesting. We've got 1000 AD, 600 AD, 600 AD, 1000 AD, 1000 AD, 2300. I'm actually going to skip over the redundant ones. End of time 1000, 600, 65 million, 600, 65 million. 12,000, 2,300, and going back to 12,000 BC. Then we're going back to 2,300 AD. That's the plot. That's how you are going to, and some of those are multiple quests or missions that you're running in the same time period back to back. So if you're wondering why we sound like a bunch of monkeys humping a doorknob, it's because this is fucking complicated.
All right, so eventually you wind up in a fight with Lavos. I think this is the next thing that we really need to get to, right? Because to me, that is the really key part of this game before we get to the finale, right? Which is you get to a fight with Lavos. And Chrono has an opportunity to sacrifice himself for his friends. And for, at least in his mind,
for the future.
And Benny, I want you to talk about this a little bit, and then I want to talk about something that I love about this game from this moment on. And maybe it happens earlier, but my memory of it is that it starts from here on.
Yeah, so Chrono sacrifices himself, and for a while here, it's a moment that's literally frozen in time visually by the game. As it happens, Lavos spears him with light. The party is broken, literally in this case.
Yeah.
The characters are all despondent.
She's feeling very bored and very despondent, and
they're missing their friend, and they don't know what to do next. God, that's such a great image. Brent is showing us an image,
a painting of Chrono charging in towards Lavos.
I actually have this as a poster I bought about 8 years ago.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love it. So the great thing about this illustration, I'll just touch on this real quick, is it's a picture of a cavern, and Lavos is dominating the cavern. He's charging an attack, and you may not realize it at first until you look closer and you realize that Chrono is actually there too, charging Lavos. He's just so small you can barely see him.
Yeah.
But he's just he's got this kind of posture that he has in the game as he's moving into an attack, kind of like charging forward, sword drawn back, and it's very it's a very dynamic illustration, and because Lavos is so big and he's so small, and it kind of it's like that
very
kind of,
David and Goliath.
Yeah, and it alludes again to that, like the ethos of the game, like doing the right thing even though it's hard. Like this, it's impossible. Like how would we even deal with it? And yet there is Chrono, presumably rushing to his imminent death.
Yeah.
About to be blasted. And so your party is trying to pick themselves up after losing the eponymous member of the party, and trying to figure out what to do at this point. And I believe you visit Gaspar again.
Yeah, they talk to
the end of
Gaspar.
time.
Yeah. Yep.
You go talk to him, and he starts letting you know that you have options. And what he's essentially telling you is that you have a bunch of, like, in a more metagamey text sense, you have a bunch of side quests you can go do. This is what I was talking about, where the game branches and you can do a bunch of things to learn more about your characters. Your party is completely flexible at this point. Up until now, Chrono had to be one of the three in your party. Obviously, he's a skeleton, so you can have any three other characters you want. But it's great because it kind of encourages you to experiment with the synergy between the characters. And I do have to. I almost feel like, even though it's technically optional, spoiler alert, reviving Chrono is almost not optional. Like it's basically the next real part of the plot.
Yeah, so when you go to talk to Gaspar, he tells you that he has a thing called the Chrono Trigger.
Oh, he said it. He said the name of the thing.
It's the name of this game. And basically, like, it's going to allow you to revitalize Chrono. Now, yeah, you can absolutely, like, go play the game without Chrono for a while, if that's what you're into. And I've talked about this so many times on the podcast. Like, I want to advance the plot. That's when I play a narrative-driven game, I just keep advancing the plot. And so, again, Chrono Trigger, one of the things I really loved about it was that it allowed me to do that. It allowed me to just, like, as long as I wasn't dodging fights, I could just keep going. And, yeah, so I didn't do any of the side quests except for because the first time I finished this game, I did finish the DS version, and there is a Reptite 65 million BC side quest that I did go do because I got confused as to what I was supposed to do next. And it was really fun, and we can maybe talk about that.
If you ever go back, the side quests are at least as good as the rest of the story. They fill in some of the back plot, like especially with you liking Frog as much as you do. I really think you should go and play through his storyline, because you get a lot more of, and you even get you get to put Cyrus's ghost at rest, and you get some closure to Frog's story. Yeah, it's fun. There's some fun creepiness to it.
I liked. I did play a little bit of Luca and Robo's side quests, and I did enjoy both of those. So I fully expect that anything that I would go back and replay would be worth it, because it's
I think Robo's was probably the more interesting one to me.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
When you make him plant that whole forest at one period, and then you come and grab him in the future, and he's got an entire forest done, and he's a robot, so he doesn't really give a shit about trees. So it's just kind of it's like in a way he's like, well, I did it for you guys. And it's kind of touching and sweet.
You know, it's about, the game is about changing the future, or can you change the future? Even one of the consequences of, like, you don't get a game over screen. You get like the future refused to change if you lose in battle. You know, if you fail, of course you can restart a save point, but like that's the consequences. Like, you are not saving. Like, the world does end.
Yes,
you can change the world in tangible ways throughout the playthrough too. Like Kirk was talking about, you can leave Robo to plant a forest, and you can come back 400 years later, and there's a forest where there was a desert before, which is pretty cool. Like, they've even built a church as like a monument to him, which is kind of silly but great as well, kind of touching. There's a lot of,
I like his kind of reaction to it too. He was just like, well, this is unnecessary. What's that?
Well, and it's like the Futurama thing where, like, you leave, like, they left Bender for like 800 years, and he was like,
no, it was Bender. You've been stuck in that same you've been stuck in that same hole for the past 2,000 years. What was it like? Oh, it was good until you guys showed up.
Yeah.
Bender, what was it like lying in that hole for 1,000 years?
I was enjoying it until you guys showed up.
But yeah, no, and that's one of the things that I love about this game, is that it does allow for a little bit of open-ended exploration of its world, which, again, for a 1995 game, is kind of mind-blowing. I'm gonna say the intended story path, because the thing is, like, as soon as you get,
if what you're describing, what you're going to describe, Brent, you actually can't get the complete ending with, like, the Black Omen and everything. You can't do that if you don't do this.
Yeah, from the time that you get to the end of time, which is like the 1/3 point in the game, Melchior's like, oh yeah, you can go over there to that bucket and you can go fight Lavos, but you're probably going to get your ass kicked. It's like Breath of the Wild. It's like, I would strongly advise you not to go fight Calamity Ganon.
There's literally a warp gate in a 5-gallon bucket in the corner that you can open, and you can go fight the big bad, which is just a fantastic design choice.
Yes.
To give you the option to do it.
It's so okay. So when I was I know we're up against it, but I have to share this real quick. When I was a teenager, I played rugby, And our physio was a gentleman with Down syndrome from New Zealand who carried around an Elmer's 5-gallon bucket full of ice and ace bandages. And he would just scream "Go All Blacks" at us from time to time. And every time I see a 5-gallon bucket, I just think of that guy. Just like I'd be like laying in the middle of the rugby pitch with my shin bones sticking out the front of my leg, and he'd be like, "Go All Blacks," and I'm like, "Yeah, ow, please help me, Jesus Christ." Yeah, so that, but you click on it and then you get to go fight Lavos, and so
probably will probably pull your nose out through your asshole at this point.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. But so the intended story beat is for you to revive Chrono, and then you go to fight Lavos. There are more things in the middle. I'm gonna fast forward us because I need to spend some time with my wife before I go to bed. So you revive Chrono. Other things are optional, but you revive Chrono. You go.
I won't linger, but the actual scene, like the revival of Chrono, is one of the lovelier scenes in most games that you'll play. I won't linger on that, but my wife and I commissioned a triptych based on that scene because it's so lovely.
Nice.
It's just it's this tableau, and then the characters are reunited, and it's just it almost, when I think about it, and maybe this is just my fondness for it, but that scene in particular chokes me up a little bit because I think that's the other moment that shows the ethos of the game.
Yeah. No, 100%.
What would you do? It's what's kind of why do we do the right thing? And what is because you watch Hollywood movies or heroes, the general term, why does Simon Belmont do what he does, or why do any of these characters do what they're doing? And this game explores a little bit of the reality of if you had the means to do something about it, would you? And what would that be like? And then the other thing is what would you what do you do for the people, or what would you do for the people around you, the people that you love? And I think it's kind of touching because in Marl's case, because I think she has the best reaction to Chrono's return.
Yeah.
In her case, it's traipse across time and space and fight baby Lavos monsters and climb a frozen mountain in a blizzard and do some fairly insane things to bring someone back. What would you do for love kind of question there. And I think that stuck with me since I was a kid. I'm actually just going to read what I wrote here because I think I still think about it. I oddly anthropomorphized this game in a way. This one and Ocarina of Time, both kind of fit in a particular headspace for me in a good way. When you're a kid, people, or maybe when you're an adult, people ask about your childhood and say, who were your childhood heroes? And I forgot I wrote this. I think of my dad, and he is, and sometimes the teachers who didn't think I was going to be a serial killer, and then I think of this game and Ocarina of Time. They kind of are. They were formative for me as a person, not just in terms of my interests and proclivities as a gamer, but as a person. This game is part of who I am, and so I think that changes the the dynamic of at least my relationship to it. So, it's
yeah, hell yeah.
So it informs my idea of the right thing and what you do for the people around you, and some of the things that I aspire to, and that's pretty much, without getting extra sappy or just retreading ground, like this game I think means a lot to a lot of people, and that's something I kind of wanted to get around to, after we covered plot, is what is it all?
What's it all mean?
Why are we here?
Right.
The Monty Python song. Fuck, I love that. But yeah, I mean, why did we spend 3.5 hours talking about the plot of this game?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a good story, but it's not the greatest story ever told. This is just a tribute.
Oh God!
So what is it? Why does it stick in the?
It's fucking. God damn it.
Why is it in the zeitgeist still? Why is it a?
Oh my God, dude!
Why do so many people
take a fucking bow for that one? That was excellent.
Oh.
I think
couldn't remember the greatest JRPG in the world. This is just a tribute.
Immediately, Brent and I just both collectively started shaking our heads, just like, you son of a bitch.
Oh my God.
That better, if that wasn't on purpose,
I had stumbled into it, but I'm okay with it.
Brent just throws his arms up in the air and walks upstairs. Yeah. It's like, fuck it.
We're done. Closing the doors.
No, that was so good. No, it's you know what it is? You know what this game is at the end of the day? Is it's fucking Star Wars. It's well, no, and
yeah.
It's not the most complicated version, it's not the most nuanced version of the hero's journey, but it is such an excellent, simple, clean version. And I think this is why I do love that you compared it to Ocarina of Time, because Ocarina of Time is my favorite game, right? Just full stop. It's my favorite video game. And there's a reason we haven't talked about Ocarina of Time. Because
the water temple.
No, it's because it would be 7 hours of me gushing. Honestly, Benny, I admire,
and then 7 hours of bitching about the water temple. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's why you play the 3DS version.
That's true.
That's why you play the 3DS version. It's just better.
Yeah.
Although
just quick side, that video I just posted. You can cut this out, but on the side, the terminal montage thing actually talks or actually shows that very scene that I'm talking about, where everyone got stuck until you either figured it out through a friend telling you, or until you played the 3DS version, where they deliberately show you the angle where you see that platform go up. But I love it how Terminal Montage put that in the fucking cartoon, because that is so true.
Aislinn and I watched that together, and because she loves Ocarina of Time too, and so she just started laughing hysterically at that, and she's 7, and she's just like, yeah, that is the most bullshit part.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been watching all the Terminal Montage Zeldas because she loves Breath of the Wild, she loves Ocarina, and she's just like, yeah, this is accurate. That's how that feels. But anyway, my point is that in the same way that Ocarina or Star Wars are very much just generic heroes' journeys, you're presented with this straight up and down avatar who's not doing that much interesting or exciting, but they're placed into these scenes, these settings that require that call to adventure, that call to something higher, right? And you as the player get to make that decision to...
The character's the avatar for you, because in both of these cases, we have silent protagonists. Chrono doesn't utter a word, and neither does Link. They are a stand-in for you. So and you get to ask yourself, or you get to take action.
Chrono, I feel like, and like I don't know, maybe someone will be offended by this, and if they are, I apologize. But I feel like you could easily like flip Chrono for Link's Link to the Past sprite, and it would be the same game. You know what I mean? Like, it really would. And that's not saying that Chrono Trigger isn't an amazing game, because it is, or that its plot isn't awesome, because it is. My point being that it is such a, like, Chrono is such a cipher for you and your feelings and your emotions when interacting with the game, in the same way that Link is. And I feel like if you're the kind of person who loves typical hero's journey stories, like if you're somebody who likes Lord of the Rings, if you like Star Wars, if you like the Legend of Zelda games, and you want an entry point into the world of JRPGs, which is its own kind of like siphoned off world in terms of
there are unique tropes and unique caveats that stylistic approaches that you won't find in other genres.
Absolutely. This game is, for me, someone who historically has kind of hated this genre. Chrono Trigger was my path into it. It is a good soft open for JRPGs generally, and I have enjoyed JRPGs more since I've played Chrono Trigger. So for me personally, that's going to be my takeaway. This is a game that has best in class in terms of Super Nintendo music, graphics, and possibly plot, like possibly like character development. And if you're somebody who is either an old fucking man like me, who grew up on sports games and platformers and arcade games and is like not super familiar with that JRPG world, this is a great entry point. Or if you're somebody who is young and this is not a genre that you ever interacted with, just because you haven't yet, great way to interact with it, and it's available everywhere. Right at the very beginning of the first episode, you mentioned how Benny, it is like historically, like almost everybody puts it in a top 25, top 50 list of like video games of all time. There's a reason for it. Like this is
that's what I was gonna mention, was that there's something intangible about it that has some. It's clearly greater than the sum of its parts. I mean, that's kind of what we're kind of at the end of the 2-episode meander, maundering trip through this is what we're saying. It's greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Because something gives it staying power. Yeah. I mean, it's still. I'm sure there's a lot of nostalgia that drives that, but
sure,
it still gets ranked as one of the greatest video games made. One of the greatest games of all time, and it still keeps hitting the top 10 on a lot of these charts. So there's something intangible, and I've said that several times now, that just magic in a bottle that is so difficult, and they make it look so easy. Maybe that's part of it. Like it's deceptively simple and cute, but there's a lot of depth to it.
Hell yeah. Like just the there's so much of it that it's like it feels like it should be so easy to achieve this. Like it's one of those things where it's like watching some incredible athlete perform something, like you're like, oh yeah, that's easy, and then you go play, Secret of Evermore, and then you're like, oh, Tecmo's Secret of the Stars, and you're like, oh no, wait, this was actually an incredibly tricky needle to thread.
Oh, did you guys want to at least talk about the final battle at all? Like,
yeah.
Otherwise I'm just gonna be like, you beat up the queen, you go to Lavos, smash open a shell, go inside, and then fight like a weird slug slothman. And then you win.
You're not wrong.
That was the perfect...
Yeah, I'm not downplaying it. I really liked it, but I'm like, if we need to fast forward this shit, like, I'm just put that in the episode and then, like, done.
No, that was perfect. I think there's... Because at the end of the day...
Slug slothman is...
Because really, like, to me, the end of the game is when you get Chrono back.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like... You're fucking like I was just wrecking shit left and right with so anytime Chrono was available and then Frog and Ayla was available, so Chrono, Ayla, Frog, that was my primary party. And then when Chrono wasn't involved, it was Marley, Chrono, or it was Marley, Ayla, and Frog.
Mine was Chrono, Frog, Magus.
But I like to think, though, I'm pretty sure Benny also used Frog. I think Frog is the common denominator between all of us. Benny, is that true or false?
Frog is great. He is usually one of them.
Yeah.
I kind of like multiple groups. I kind of vacillate between them. I actually really like Chrono, Marl, and Luca because their triple tech antipode is fucking sick.
Yeah.
And just hits like a freight train, and then you've got a balance between the ability to heal the whole party or just wreck shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like that group, but also I like Chrono, Frog, and Ayla for the same reason, because you've got heavy hitting individually or as double or triple techs, and the ability to heal. I like all of those parties.
Real quick before because so I've said my final piece, but just real quick, I just do want to mention, and I want to put this out here because I think we'd be doing this game a disservice if we didn't mention it, that this is one of the first games ever to have an enormous number of possible different endings.
Yeah.
And...
I forgot we were supposed to talk about several things.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, has an enormous number of possible different endings that you can discover based on when you go fight Lavos and how that comes out and who's in your party. And this is, if not the first, then certainly one of the first games to have New Game Plus, where you go into a game using the characters as they ended the last run through the game, right? So just a real quick note on that, because I don't want to not talk about that. Both of those are such cool fucking things.
Just as a question, did either of you ever do the developer ending?
I've never seen it.
Do you know how to do it? So
I know of it. I've never seen it.
So you have to beat the game and have a New Game Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start a New Game Plus, you have to get as far as getting Marl in your party. And when you go back to Tabin and Luca doing their experiment, instead of the pod you're supposed to go to, there's a glowing spot in the other pod.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go interact with that glowing spot in the other pod, it opens into a warp gate that takes you immediately to Lavos, and you fight him with just Chrono and Marl. And if you beat him, if you beat him with those two, then you get the developer ending, which is a building populated with unique sprites that you'll never see anywhere else in the game, and it's the crew.
It's the guys who made it.
Crew.
Yeah.
It's all of them. Yeah, you can talk with them, and they've each got a little spiel that they give about, you know, some of it's cute and silly, some of it's you know, well wishes or, you know, thanks for playing, all those kinds of things. But yeah, you can get in there and you can talk to a little bit of you know, them talking to you through time. It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I know. I never did that. Didn't even know it existed.
Yeah. A little Easter egg there.
Okay. I'm going to call it here because we have now 3 hours for episode 2 about Chrono Trigger. Oh my God. And I'm never...
Not a bad thing.
No, it's not. But I'm never greenlighting another JRPG ever again.
Well, that's not fair. Come on now. This is one that there wasn't a lot of strife, and there's a lot of similarities in our thought process of this game.
I'm teasing Kirk. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Don't make me get defensive, man.
I won't. I'm not. Or if I do, it'll be about something good. I'll actually be kicking your ass about something, not just... No.
It's the games that made us, not the games that made Brent.
If it was the games that made Brent, it would just be nothing but shoot-em-ups and platformers. Be like, yeah, every episode is 20 minutes long. Like, yes, you run to the right and jump. It's very exciting. It's just like the last 6 episodes.
It's the Games Made podcast. Welcome back to Brent Games.
Tis a thing.
You made something.
It's the Games Made Me podcast, and it's good because I made me, and it's a podcast. I'm. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys for...
Fuck you.
Oh, God damn it, motherfucker. All right. We're going to call it here.
Sorry.
We're going to call it here. There is a non-zero chance that we do a part 3 of Chrono Trigger. And there's also a non-zero chance that we do a part 2 on Link's Awakening, because I feel like we have more to say about that as well.
Or at least a supplemental.
Yeah. I would love to go back and do like Kirk was saying, like what our thoughts are on the morality of Link's Awakening and like the ideas behind it.
I think, as an old colleague of mine said, I feel like that's kind of like a 6-beer conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
We could definitely get some. We could eke some more out.
Yeah, no, I think that's 100% true. But we are gonna take a short break from the big podcast, like the big story episodes, and we're gonna go back to something that's a little bit more story light. And our next episode is going to be on 2 N64 games, Star Wars Rogue Squadron and Star Wars Pod Racer. And then after that, we're going to tackle another big one, but one with a little bit less story, but definitely a massive fucking game in the original Halo, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, hey, guys, thank you. And to right now, I'm speaking to the guys I'm looking at. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for being on my podcast, our podcast, the podcast, for putting your time and energy and effort into this. I appreciate it. I love you guys. And to anyone who's listening, it means a lot. This has been up to this point, and I'm sure in the future it's been a really cool experience, and seeing the numbers go up on Spotify and YouTube and Libsyn has been really gratifying. It means a lot. Like, this is something that I'm really excited about, and I love that y'all are here for it, and we look forward to talking with you guys on the next one. So until then, have a great week, month, year, life. We appreciate you joining us, and thanks for listening to the Games That Made Us podcast. Means
Go beat Lavos.
Go beat Lavos.
Hey, fan, I'm off the pill.
Hell yes.
Yeah, it's time to start trying. You know what I mean? And go.
Fair enough. I didn't know if we were going back to like the
keep that in.
some of what I wrote in like the notes section.